Good evening. The singing of our national anthem by artists Miss Michelle Covington and Mrs. Crystal Jarrell, with arrangement by Minister of Music Mr. Lamar James.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave,
Good evening and welcome to the New Hope Baptist Church annual African American Museum, a showcase of history and achievements, an intentional ministry initiative of a 14-year run. My name is Derether Greer. On behalf of Pastor Dr. Howard C. Earl Jr., the man with this vision, indeed an African American to be showcased, we welcome you, our viewing audience. The museum's first exhibit was held at our church in the lower level in 2008. Continued for 4 years, and for the next 7 years, it was showcased at Woodland Mall. Our non-presence at Woodland Mall since 2020 has been due to the COVID pandemic. But we anticipate to be back at Woodland Mall next year. The African American Museum has been an outreach initiative at various venues and businesses, a diversity for organizations in business, both within the greater Grand Rapids community and surrounding cities. Viewing audience, the New Hope Baptist Church African American Museum 2022 presents Legacies Live as the work continues. Enjoy.
Legends Who Died in 2021. Virgil Abloh, fashion organizer, artistic director for Louis Vuitton menswear. Hank Aaron, professional baseball star. W. Sterling Carey, first African American to lead the National Council of Churches. Lee Elder, professional golfer. Barry Harris, renowned jazz musician. Bell Hooks, author, professor, social activist. Dr. Shirley M. McBay, first Black student to receive a doctorate from University of Georgia, pioneer mathematician. Yavita Moore, broadcast TV news anchor, Atlanta, Georgia. Colin Powell, first African American United States Secretary of State. Malika Shabazz, daughter of slain civil rights activist Malcolm X. Demarius Thomas, former NFL star. Desmond Tutu, South African Archbishop. Cicely Tyson, renowned actress. Mary Wilson, singer and founding member of the Supremes. Wanda Young, singer with the Motown doo-wop girl group, the Marvelettes.
Hi, I'm Erica, an inspiring teen news reporter here on location at the New Hope Baptist Church, a place where heaven visits earth, for full coverage of her annual African American Museum. I have already interacted with these amazing personalities, delivering their profiles this evening. Let me be presumptuous to say, what an exciting learning experience that awaits you. I will be back for a recap. Expect an awesome presentation of Legacies Live as the work continues.
Good evening. I'm so glad to be invited and showcased at your 2022 African American Museum. And yes, despite what you may read in some history books, there was a black person that ran for President of the United States before the 1972 run of the Honorable Representative Shirley Chisholm. It was me, George Edwin Taylor. Yes, I'm often forgotten in the discussion of Black American political pioneers. I ran as a candidate for the National Negro Liberty Party in 1904. Yes, Negroes were involved in politics early. I was the son of a slave. I became a journalist by trade. I was founder and owner of a newspaper, editor, political activist, and politician. I ran for president because one, I no longer cared what the major parties thought of me, and two, I was able to find allies among progressive whites who took the bold step to nominate me. But my campaign in 1904 was unsuccessful. My party's promise to put 300 speakers on the stump to support my candidacy and the plan to fill 6,000 candidates for local offices failed. No newspaper supported my party. State laws kept my party from putting candidates on the official election ballots. My name failed to be added to any state party ballot, and the votes that I received were not even counted. The two major parties have a monopoly on all presidential elections. So to run as a third party candidate was ambitious indeed. My historic run for the White House and the making of black independent politics was due to what I knew. I was independent first, Democrat second, and always unapologetically black. And what I learned is that it is always better to press for change with a major party and at least win marginal gains than waste votes on losing causes and get nothing, especially if you're black.
I am a U.S. Navy cook, third class, and the first black to be awarded the Navy Cross, one of the highest decorations of valor during combat, one notch under the Medal of Honor. The midwife who helped my mom deliver me at birth was so convinced that I was a girl, so she named me Doris. My name is Doris Miller. My childhood was filled with cooking meals, laundry, and helping on the family farm. At age 17, I started attending the 8th grade. And since I had to repeat the 8th grade, I decided to drop out the following year due to poor performance. I filled my time by hunting squirrels with a 22 gauge rifle and completing a corresponding course on taxidermy while continuing to work on the farm until I was 20 years old. Now, taxidermy is a way of preserving an animal's body by stuffing and mounting it for display. In other words, taxidermy means the arrangement of skin. I enlisted in the U.S. Navy as a mess attendant third class for 6 years. After training, I was assigned to the ammunition ship, the USS Pyro in Norfolk, Virginia, and afterwards, advancing in rating for mess attendant school. I was a crewman aboard the battleship, the USS West Virginia, and awoke at 6 a.m. on December 7, 1941. I served breakfast mess and was collecting laundry at 7:15 a.m. when planes from a Japanese aircraft carrier fired the first of 7 torpedoes that hit the West Virginia. The alarm sounded, and I headed for the battle station, an anti-aircraft battery magazine located amidship, only to discover a torpedo had destroyed it. I then went to the deck for other duty and was assigned to help carry wounded sailors to better safety. A communications officer spotted me and noticed my physical power and ordered me to go help remove the captain who had been shot, but later died after I moved him to a safer area. I was ordered to help load the 50 caliber machine guns. I didn't know anything about the machine guns, but I was shown how to load and shoot. I am given credit, and I take credit, for downing at least 4 of the Japanese airplanes. And I know I got the first 2. I am recognized as one of the first U.S. heroes of World War II. A documentary has been made about my life, and 2 Navy ships have been named in my honor. A destroyer, the USS Miller, and a Gerald R. Ford class nuclear-powered aircraft carrier, the USS Doris Miller. I am humbled for the recognition as a black man who was a member of the United States Navy. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Donald Galloway. I am a fierce advocate for the rights of people with disabilities and for the inclusion of people of color in the disabilities rights movement. I was born in Washington, D.C. and was blinded by an accident as a teenager. After receiving a master's degree in social work, I worked at the Berkeley Center for Independent Living, a hub of the disability rights movement of the 1970s. I went on to serve other key positions during my career before running the Center for Independent Living's Washington, D.C. branch. In 1991, I was called for jury service by the D.C. Superior Court. But when I arrived in the courtroom with my guide dog, I was dismissed by the judge on the grounds that being unable to see the court proceedings meant that I could not fulfill the duties of a juror. I sued the district. In 1993, a district judge ruled that automatically disqualifying a person who was blind from jury service was unconstitutional. My work at the intersection of racial and the disabled have helped ensure that black voices become part of disability rights conversations. I am so proud of the impact that my work has had, even to this day. Thank you.
A singer, songwriter, producer, civil rights activist, founder of a record label and a publishing company, my heart has been my guide. My name is Sam Cooke. My quiet protest song, A Change Is Gonna Come, written in 1964 and inspired when I and my entourage returned away from a whites-only motel in Louisiana, became one of the theme songs during the civil rights movement. Today, 58 years later, I say, hold on, believing still.
I was born by the river in a little tent, and oh, just like that river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know my change gon' come. Oh, yes, it will. I've been tired of living, but I'm afraid to die. 'Cause I don't know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. I go down to the movies and I go around. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will. Then I go to my brother and I say, brother, will you help me please? But he just wind up knocking me back down on my knees. I would last alone, but now I see that I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know a change gonna come. Oh, yes it will.
Good evening, and thank you for the invitation to celebrate with you in your annual African American Museum. Truly an event that seals your commitment to history, truth, and the achievements of us as Black people in the making of America. I speak to you in the midst of my battle, my lengthy struggle with Alzheimer's disease. And what is true today is the importance of our commitment to voting rights. Still, my name is Lani Guiner, published author of 5 books and 24 law review articles, attorney and professor of law. In 1998, I became the first woman of color to be a tenured Harvard Law professor. My life's work has centered on equality, empowerment, and democracy, on why and how the voices historically underrepresented must be heard, and what it takes to have a meaningful right to vote. I always wanted to be a civil rights lawyer since I was 12 years old, as I watched Constance Baker Motley help escort James Meredith, the first Black student to enroll in the University of Mississippi. I have won 31 of 32 cases I argued. I'm a legal scholar with prominent work on voting rights. I argue that existing voting structures often suppress the interests of minorities, and that alternatives should be explored to give marginalized groups more opportunity to influence voting outcomes. I describe my voting rights record as intellectual, professional, and a spiritual cause. The January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol was an attack on our multicultural democracy. I follow a strong and principled vision of empowerment of community voices and not self-promotion. Yes, legacies live as the work continues. Thank you.
I firmly believed that the heart of justice is truth-telling. My name is Bell Hooks, published author of more than 30 books, professor and social activist. As a writer, I decided not to capitalize my name, to focus on my work rather than my name, on my ideas rather than my personality, so that as we move towards our desired destination, we chart the journey, creating a map. My work addressed race, class, gender, history, and mass media. It has been documented that my work helped shape decades of debate about race and gender. Listen, little sister, angels make their hope here. Follow me, I will guide you. Draw up power from the deep.
They say I'm the highest paid actor of all time, having grossed over $27 billion worldwide. I have appeared in over 150 films. I am Samuel Leroy Jackson, actor, producer. My father, he lived away from the family and died of alcoholism. I met my dad only twice in my lifetime. I developed a stuttering during childhood, and still today I stutter. I attended Morehouse College, and in 1969, I and several students held members of the trustee board hostage, including Reverend Martin Luther King Sr. on campus. It was a demand for curricular reform. The college eventually agreed to change policy. However, I was still charged with second-degree felony from college for 2 years. I did return and earn a degree in drama. I became involved in civil rights protests, so involved that my mom sent me to Los Angeles when she got warning from the FBI that I would die within a year if I kept being a part of protests and hanging around members of the Black Panthers. Acting became a turning point for me. Young people, there's always a turning point. There's always a different direction if you look for it. Regardless of the circumstance, find a way to escape. Listen to and hold firm to your passion. I say to you, self-resolve with Godspeed.
Good evening. Education and learning have been the triad of centeredness for African Americans. That triad in ranking order are God, family, and education. Hence, it is so fitting to highlight historical Black colleges and universities. HBCUs. HBCUs were founded, established before the landmark Civil Rights Act in 1964, and is responsible for expanding the rise of the middle class. HBCUs constitute 3% of the nation's colleges and universities, public and private. It contributes to a $10.2 billion impact on the nation's economy. Over half of all African American professionals are graduates of an HBCU. I am proudly one. Over 25% of African Americans graduate with STEM degrees. These institutions produce engineers, medical doctors, and scientists. And alongside vigorous curricula for academic excellence, these institutions are vibrant in their cultural mores, creativity, and gifts. This is also the place where I became a lady of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. Watch this space of Jackson State University, Sonic Boom of the South.
Roll up, roll up.
Hi, my name is Robbie Novak, but my public knows me as Kid President. I am a public speaker that gives pep talks and speeches that center on unity and togetherness. In 2013, I was invited to the White House and was pictured at the desk with President Barack Obama. I am a fearless skateboarder. A fact I want to share today is that I have osteogenesis imperfecta. It is a rare disease that causes my bones to break easily. I have broken more than 70 bones in my young life. Nothing can stop you from doing what you have passion for. My passion is to inspire anyone that I meet and say, leap into your passion.
Hi, my name is Naomi Wadler. I'm a student activist against gun violence. In 2018, I was a victim of racial hurt because of my Jewish and Ethiopian heritages. After a girl at my school got shot, I helped organize a walkout of 60 classmates in Alabama. Gun violence is real, rampant, and needs to stop. In 2020, I spoke at the March for Our Lives rally in Washington, D.C., and the Ellen DeGeneres Show to highlight the racial disparities of gun violence against black females. Black girls die so much in the inner city or on their way to school. I say from the bottom of my heart that we must pay attention and speak out more against gun violence. We must do better in saving lives. Please, please, this is a plea for help. Thank you for listening to me.
I was 17 years old, standing by a convenience store, when I filmed the murder of George Floyd in 2020. I was a key witness that helped shape the trial. When I look at George Floyd, I look at my father, my brother, and my cousins, because they are black. It could have been them. It's been nights. I stayed up, apologizing to George Floyd for not doing more to save his life. He was suffering. I'm sorry. Excuse me for my tears.
I am a 62-year-old Georgia resident, grandmother, and small business owner. During the 2020 presidential election, my daughter asked if I would help her with the vote count because she was short on volunteers. I did. My name is Ruby Freeman. It was December 3rd, 2020, that Trump's team led a conspiracy that publicly accused me of voter fraud, of phony ballots to rig the vote count. That wasn't true and has been proven not to be true. I began receiving phone threats, over 100 emails and text messages, and people coming to my house yelling racial slurs. I visited the police station, told and showed them the emails and messages, but there was no investigation. My alarm peaked in January when the FBI told me of a suspect in the January 6th Capitol riot had been arrested and found a list of names of people to be executed. Me and my daughter's names were on that list. I moved out of my house of 20 years for 2 months, changed my physical appearance and phone number. I returned to my house in March with 11 cameras and 3 motion sensors have been installed around my house. Thank you for believing and praying for me, an innocent victim of this extreme character assassination.
Good evening, Grand Rapids, Michigan. I am so happy to celebrate with you in your 14th annual African American Museum Showcase. My name is Amanda Gorman. I am a writer, poet, and activist who focuses on issues of oppression, feminism, race, and marginalization. I have authored and published 2 books of poetry and 1 children's book. I had a speech impediment as a young child, and I used songs and music as a form of therapy. I so enjoyed reading and writing growing up as a child of a single mother who was a 6th grade teacher. In 2015, I published my first poetry book, The One for Whom Food is Not Enough. In 2017, I became the first Black person to be named National Youth Poet Laureate. I studied and graduated from Harvard University as cum laude in 2020. I plan to run for president in 2036. Please allow me to share a portion of one of my poems I recited at the January 20, 2021 inauguration of President Joe Biden as youngest inaugural poet ever. The hill we climb. When day comes, we ask ourselves, where can we find light in this never-ending shade? The loss we carry, a sea we must wade. We have braved the belly of the beast. We've learned that quiet isn't always peace, and the norms and notions of what just isn't always justice. And yet the down is ours before we knew it. Somehow we do it. Somehow we've weathered and witnessed a nation that isn't broken, but simply unfinished. We, the successors of a country and a time where a skinny Black girl descended from slaves and raised by a single mother, can dream of one day becoming president, only to find herself reciting for one. And yes, we are far from polished, far from pristine, but that doesn't mean we are striving to form a union that is perfect. We are striving to forge our union with purpose, to compose a country committed to all cultures, colors, characters, and conditions of man. And so we lift our gaze not to what stands between us, but what stands before us. We close the divide because we know to put our future first, we must first put our differences aside. We lay down our arms so we can reach out our arms to one another. We seek harm to none and harmony to all. Let the globe, if nothing else, say this is true, that even as we grieved, we grew, that even as we tired, we tried, victorious, not because we will never again know defeat, but because we will never again sow division. If we are to live up to our own time, then victory won't lie in the blade, but in the bridges we've made. That is the promise to Glade, that the hill we climb, if only we dare. It's because being American is more than pride we inherit. It's the past we step into and how we repair it. For there is always light, if only we are brave enough to see it. If only we are brave enough to be it.
Yes, oh yeah, learning is fun. I had planned to do a recap, but I need to meet this deadline for pushing out for national broadcasting on what we just witnessed this evening. Wow, great learning. Need to check with Pastor Earl and see if he can hook me up to get me on Nightly News with Lester Holt. This is Erica Large, having covered Legacies Live as the Work Continues at the spot where this amazing event took place.